Okay, so I'm going to be looking at the first two pages of the Vivaldi Violin Concerto in A minor first movement in the Suzuki book, volume 4. And I'm just going to be explaining some ways to practice it and ways to better shape the performance if you're performing it. If you are doing this as a side piece, I would probably still act as if you're performing it, because the way that you practice should be the way that you perform. So if we're looking at the first bar on the first page, you have the repeated A's. In my opinion, you should not repeat them all the same. You should make them a bit more bouncy instead of make them a bit shorter, like but I wouldn't as much shape it, because it's the introduction you get on the piece right off the bat. But as you get more into the next part, you should shape it more. So we're gonna head on to the next part. So you're gonna make it less connected. Right there, you're going to shape it a bit more, because you're going to have this repeated pattern of multiple eighth notes in a row. So you're going to want to use more dynamic. Practice that a bit with that metronome, because if you're just starting this piece out right off the bat, you're going to need a metronome for this part, because you're technically going to need a metronome for the entire piece, because it gets a bit more like difficult as you get into the piece. And if we're looking at those parts, just practice bow pressure. Bow pressure will definitely help a lot with the dynamic contrast in the repeated eighth notes. And now we get into the pickup of measure 8, the pickup for it. You're gonna, in my opinion, you should start out forte and then go piano, even though there's no dynamic marking, because it just sounds better in my opinion, and also it'll help the performance brighten up a bit. So work on also the bow pressure there. It's a lot about the dynamic that you use, but also when you come across the eighth notes, you're gonna want to accent on the last A for that section. I like to accent it. You should, in my opinion, because it sounds a bit better. And then it repeats the same pattern. Right there, you are going to want to crescendo a bit, even though you're using accents, and you're probably gonna, if you've worked on this piece before, if you've heard it, you're probably gonna naturally crescendo, but you're still gonna want to crescendo there, just a tad bit. You're gonna want to start out soft, and then crescendo to forte. And then right here at this section, we repeat the introduction. You're going to want not to be forte like the beginning, but you're going to want to be a bit quieter, since this is going into a new repeated section in the piece. So long and then shorts. So it's going to be yeah, so use long and then short. It's going to give it a bit more phrasing right there. And pay attention to the crescendos because that's really going to help phrase it a bit better. And then right here we get to the tutti, which is at measure 21. You're going to want to stay forte, but don't phrase it as much because you're getting into a new section of the piece where there's, again, it's going to be a repeative pattern of notes. So as you're going through this part, you want to definitely use the metronome and focus more on the dynamics and the rhythm rather than the notes, because you're going to have a lot more of the B, A, and you're going to be going up and down. For example, it's going to be E, A, B, A, then E, A, B, A. It's going to be going back and forth, so you're going to want to focus more on the rhythm and the slurs. So that's where I'm going to leave off right now. I will come back a bit later and I will explain that part.